The Zarkari fleet was no longer proud. Fear had taken over. Their best soldiers were missing. Their strongest ship had been broken from the inside. And the human scout, still unseen, was gone again. But before he left, he sent one signal. Ready. That one word shook General Varnock more than any weapon. The humans were not running. They were not hiding. They had been watching, waiting, planning, and now they were coming. The skies over the planet stayed quiet for 2 more days. Zarkari reinforcements arrived, filling the orbit with hundreds of ships. The Empire was determined to crush this threat before it grew. "We will face them head-on," Varnock said to his war council. "Let them come." But they had no idea what was really coming. It started with silence. Every Zarkari radar, satellite, and scanner went dark in one moment. Total blackout. No warning. Then the atmosphere above the planet began to glow, not with fire, not with lasers, but with strange pulses of light. Blue, then white, then nothing. General Varnock stood on the bridge, staring at the sky. "Report," he shouted. No signal, no visuals, nothing. An officer replied. Then came the sound, a deep hum. Not like any engine the Zarkari had ever heard. It was smooth, powerful, and it grew louder every second. Suddenly, the clouds split open. The sky tore apart like paper. And out of the tear came a ship. No, not a ship. A fortress. It was massive. Larger than anything the Zarkari had ever seen. Its black surface absorbed light. No markings. No windows. Just one giant warship, shaped like a blade, floating above them like death itself. Varnock stepped back. "What? What is that?" Rouleau answered softly. "That's not a ship. That's a human command carrier." Dozens more followed. Silent. Fast. Covered in dark armor and strange tech. Then came the smaller ships, sleek, sharp, and glowing with energy. Fighters, dropships, drones, all organized, all in perfect formation. The Zarkari fleet launched into panic. Ships fired into the sky without orders. Missiles and plasma bolts shot toward the human fleet. Nothing hit. Every shot missed or was absorbed by shields the Zarkari couldn't even detect. Their best weapons did nothing. The humans didn't fire back. Not yet. Then one of the human ships moved forward. From its side, it launched a single pod. It flew straight toward the surface. The Zarkari followed it on every screen. It landed near the destroyed human outpost. Dust flew into the air. The pod opened. A single figure stepped out. Not in armor, not a scout. This one wore a black uniform with a silver symbol on his chest. He stood in the open and spoke into the comms. "This is Commander Elias Ward of the Terran Expeditionary Force. Your attack on our scout has been recorded. Your systems have been scanned. Your weapons are outdated. Your ships are unshielded. We gave you a chance to walk away. You chose war." Varnock tried to respond. "Wait, let's talk." Elias didn't stop speaking. "This is not a war for us. This is cleanup. You hurt one of ours. And now we're here to end this." The message ended, and then the sky lit up. The human fleet moved like a storm. Beams of pure energy cut through Zarkari ships in seconds. Drones flew into engines, disabling them mid-flight. Human soldiers dropped from orbit in black armor, landing without sound and sweeping through enemy lines like shadows. The Zarkari tried to fight back. They failed. Everything they had, their numbers, their pride, their strength, meant nothing now. This wasn't a war. It was a warning. Humanity had arrived, and they were angry. The Zarkari were done playing games. General Varnock called for the best hunters in the Empire, elite commandos trained to track and kill dangerous enemies. 12 of them arrived, each wearing heavy armor and carrying high-tech weapons. They had hunted beasts on lava planets and fought assassins in zero gravity. This time, they were told the enemy was just one human. They laughed. The plan was simple: trap him. The Zarkari used heat scans and signal jammers. They closed every mountain path, flew patrols day and night, and set up motion sensors on every tree and rock. They built a fake command base as bait and filled it with troops, hoping he would attack. But the human didn't take the bait. Instead, strange things started happening inside the main Zarkari ship, the Blood Star. First, the lights flickered. Then, the security doors started locking and unlocking randomly. The crew thought it was a glitch. Then, one of the guards vanished from outside the engine room. A day later, the ship's water system failed. Then the backup system. Soldiers started collapsing from dehydration. No one knew why. General Varnock was furious. He ordered a full scan of the ship. Engineers searched every floor, every vent, every system. They found nothing. Then one of the elite commandos screamed on the comms, "He's here. He's inside the ship." Everyone froze. "He was never outside," the voice gasped. "He let us trap ourselves." Then the signal cut. Panic swept through the Blood Star. The soldiers had prepared to fight in the mountains, on the surface, in the forests. But they weren't ready for this. They weren't ready for a ghost inside their own walls. The human had been inside for days, watching, listening, learning. He had entered during the first recon mission. While everyone chased shadows outside, he had moved through the vents, hacking into the ship's systems, setting traps, learning routines. Now, he was in control. The lights shut off. The doors sealed. Alarms blared, but no one knew why. Then came the smoke. A sleeping gas leaked through the air vents. It didn't kill. It just knocked out the soldiers one by one. Varnock tried to send a message for help. The comms were dead. Suddenly, the large main screen turned on. The human appeared again. His helmet was still on, visor glowing red. He said only one sentence: "This is how you lose a war you already thought you won." The feed cut out. By the time Zarkari engineers got the power back on, the human was gone again. But he had left something behind, a data spike in the core memory. It contained files, thousands of them. Maps, ship blueprints, officer records, weapon data. He had stolen everything. General Varnock stood over the empty command chair, shaking with rage. "One human did all this," he whispered. Rouleau, the technician, stepped forward quietly. "He's not alone." Varnock turned. "What do you mean?" Rouleau looked pale. "He sent out a signal 2 hours ago, before the systems went dark. A single word." "What word?" Rouleau swallowed. "Ready." Varnock's eyes went wide. They all knew what that meant. The scout had completed his mission. He had tested the enemy. He had mapped their weaknesses. He had sent the message back to Earth. And now, the real human army would come. The Zarkari were no longer hunters. They were prey. The Zarkari fleet moved like a dark wave through space. Hundreds of warships with glowing blue engines and sharp metal hulls closed in on the human colony. It was a small planet on the edge of the galaxy, a forgotten world, a weak outpost. The Zarkari commanders laughed. They expected no real fight. After all, humans were new to the stars. They had no great power, no large army. And worst of all, they had no allies. General Varnock stood on the bridge of the Zarkari flagship, arms crossed behind his back. He looked at the hologram of the human colony. His eyes were cold. "This will be over in minutes," he said. His officers nodded. "Send in the drones. Let's make this clean." As the attack began, human defenses lit up in panic. A few weak turrets fired lasers into space, but they barely scratched the Zarkari armor. The first line of drones swept through the atmosphere, destroying power stations and communication towers. Human soldiers tried to fight back, but their weapons were outdated and slow. In less than 10 minutes, The human base was silent. The Zarkari forces landed with ease. Troops marched through the remains of the human camp. Smoke rose into the sky. The battle was quick, too quick, but no one questioned it. They took trophies, recorded footage, sent messages back home. All units secure, reported a captain. Resistance, minimal. General Varnock smiled. Humans are even weaker than we thought. News spread across the galaxy. The Zarkari Empire had defeated the humans in a single strike. Other species watched the videos. They saw humans running, dying, begging. The galaxy laughed. Who would fear such a race? But not everyone was celebrating. On the science vessel Inquisitor Rain, a Zarkari analyst named Dr. Kelev studied the battle footage again and again. Something felt wrong. The numbers didn't match. The base was too small. There were no advanced ships, no command center, no real fleet, only a few squads and a handful of turrets. He called his superior. "Sir, I believe what we destroyed wasn't a military base." "What are you talking about?" his commander asked. Kelev zoomed in on one image. It showed children, civilians. There were families there, scientists. This wasn't an army. It was a research station. The commander frowned. Then where was their real defense? Kelev shook his head slowly. "That's what I'm afraid of." Far from the battlefield, deep within human territory, a signal was received. A simple red alert. Code 9 Alpha. It meant only one thing. A scout team had been destroyed. Admiral Illyra Miles stood in silence as the message played. Her face was calm, but her eyes burned with anger. "Location?" she asked. "Outpost 17. The officer replied. "No survivors. All signs point to a full Zarkari attack." Illyra nodded. "Then they've made their choice." The officer looked nervous. "Should we alert the First Fleet?" "No," Illyra said. "Not yet. First, we let them believe they won." Back in Zarkari space, General Varnock was already enjoying the victory. He gave speeches. His face appeared on every news screen. "The humans are finished." The Zarkari Empire was broken. Its fleets were silent. Its cities no longer obeyed. Its leaders had disappeared, gone into hiding or captured by their own people. And above it all, the human ships still floated, dark, powerful, patient. But they didn't finish the destruction. They didn't burn the empire to the ground. They waited. Inside the shattered capital, a human dropship landed on the central tower. From it stepped Commander Elias Ward, followed by the same scout who had started everything. His armor was scratched, his visor cracked, but he walked tall, as if he had never fallen. The Zarkari civilians gathered in silence. No one moved. No one ran. The war was over, but something still lingered in the air. Fear. No. Something deeper. Realization. General Varnock, now a prisoner, was brought to stand before them. He looked at the human scout with hollow eyes. "You did all this," he whispered. "One of you." The scout didn't answer. Elias stepped forward. "You thought he was the army. You celebrated your small victory, not knowing what you had really faced." Varnock shook his head. "We thought." He was a full team. "We thought we defeated Earth's best." Elias nodded slowly. "He wasn't our best. He was just a scout." Gasps ran through the crowd. "Just a scout." Varnock stumbled back, stunned. "You mean?" "Yes," Elias said. "One scout. One mission. To observe and report. But when you attacked him, he adapted. He survived. He warned us. And because of him, we came." The truth hit everyone like thunder. All of this, an entire empire shaken, had been triggered not by a full invasion, but by one human. He had not attacked to win. He had survived to warn. And that warning had brought the storm. Elias looked out across the Zarkari people. "We are not conquerors. We don't want your land. We don't want your resources. But if you attack us, if you strike first, we will not forget." The human fleet began to rise. One by one, the black ships returned to orbit. The mission was done. The lesson was taught. The scout stood quietly, looking at the ruins around him. He didn't smile. He didn't speak. But in his silence, there was power. The kind of power that didn't need fire to destroy. It only needed to be seen. The Zarkari would rebuild one day. Maybe stronger, maybe wiser. But they would never forget this. They would tell stories about the time they thought they defeated the humans, about the time they laughed, celebrated, and believed they were safe, only to find out later they had fought just to scout. And the real army had only just begun to show. The sky was still burning when the Zarkari War Council gathered in panic. Outside the command tower, human dropships landed in waves. Black armored soldiers moved across the ground with deadly precision. No shouting, no wasted movement. Every squad knew exactly where to go, what to destroy, and who to capture. Inside, General Varnock slammed his fist on the table. "We need to open negotiations," he roared. "Now." But no one answered. The ministers, officers, and advisors stared at the live feed on the screen. Zarkari cruisers exploding in orbit. Elite ground troops retreating. Cities falling silent. They had never seen a war like this. This wasn't slow, or balanced, or fair. It was complete domination. Varnock finally ordered a full retreat. "We will surrender," he said. "Send a message. Tell the humans we want peace." The comms officer nodded and opened the signal channel. "Message sent," he said. "Translating to human frequency now." They waited. Seconds passed. Then a reply came in. One sentence. "Now you want peace." The voice was familiar, cold, calm. It was the scout. The same human who had started it all. The room froze. "He's still alive," one officer whispered. "More than alive. He was in control." The next message came quickly. "You didn't want peace when you thought we were weak. You celebrated. You laughed. You called us simple, small, emotional creatures. Now you want peace because you're losing." General Varnock stepped forward, swallowing his pride. "Please," he said. "We were wrong. We made a mistake. We thought we had defeated your forces. We didn't know." "You didn't care," the human interrupted. And then the screen switched. Live footage showed the same scout, still wearing his battle-scarred armor, standing at the heart of the old Zarkari command base, alone, calm, unshaken. Behind him stood rows of human soldiers. And above them, the Terran flag. The signal paused. Then Commander Elias appeared again, this time inside the Zarkari capital skies, walking calmly through the main plaza. He spoke softly. "We didn't come to destroy your empire. We came to teach you a lesson. Never mistake kindness for weakness. Never attack first and expect mercy after." Then he gave one command. "End it." The human forces moved with terrifying speed. They didn't target civilians. They didn't burn cities. They went after the military power, the core of the empire. Command hubs, weapon factories, shipyards. Gone within hours. Zarkari troops surrendered by the thousands. Whole fleets stopped fighting without being touched. The fear of what was coming next was worse than death. And the humans didn't stop. They went deeper. They took control of the Zarkari communications network. They exposed hidden files, war crimes, and corruption. The Zarkari public began turning on their own leaders. Protests broke out. Cities erupted in rebellion, not against the humans, but against their own empire. General Varnock watched in silence as everything fell apart. Not because of an invasion, but because of truth. The humans had broken the Zarkari illusion. With one scout, they exposed everything. And now, nothing could stop the collapse. As night fell, Varnock looked up at the stars and saw hundreds of human ships watching from orbit. Not firing, just waiting. He knew then, The Empire was already lost. And it had all started because they thought one human alone could be defeated. The Zarkari celebrated for days after the quick victory. News of the battle spread fast across the galaxy. The mighty Zarkari Empire had defeated the humans in minutes. Other species watched the broadcast with respect and fear. But on one quiet base, far from the capital, something strange was happening. Technician Rouleau was monitoring the battlefield data from the human colony. His job was simple: analyze the results and log everything. But as he looked through the footage, he noticed something odd. The number of human life signs didn't match the number of bodies they had recovered. General Varnock said there were 74 humans. Rouleau mumbled, "But we only found 73. At first, he thought it was a mistake. Maybe a sensor glitch. Maybe one body was destroyed completely. But then he saw it. A faint signal, just a pulse. It came from the mountains behind the colony. A signal so weak that most scanners would miss it. But it was there. Rouleau called his supervisor. "Sir, I think one of them escaped." His supervisor scoffed. "Impossible. We destroyed everything." "I don't think we did," Rouleau said, voice low. "This signal, it's moving." The word reached General Varnock quickly. At first, he laughed. One human? Running? Let him crawl. But something in his officer's face made him stop. "What?" "The signal is using stealth tech. Advanced. Not something we've seen from humans before." Varnock frowned. "Send a recon team. Bring him back, dead or alive." A small unit of elite Zarkari soldiers flew to the mountain range. They had full armor, plasma rifles, and flying drones. They weren't worried. After all, it was just one human. The tracking signal was weak, but still there. That followed it into the rocks. Then the first drone went silent. Then the second. Moments later, the unit lost contact with their forward scout. The lead soldier, Commander Jax, ordered the squad to tighten formation. But it didn't help. One by one, they vanished. No gunfire, no sounds, just silence. Then a message came through on their comms. It was a human voice. Calm. Cold. "You should have stayed in space." Jax froze. "Who are you?" No answer, just breathing. Then static. That was the last thing the Zarkari ever heard from the recon team. Back on the ship, General Varnock slammed his fist on the command table. "How is this possible?" Rouleau whispered, "What if he's not just a soldier?" Varnock turned to him. "What are you saying?" Rouleau swallowed hard. What if he was a scout? For a moment, the room went silent. The Zarkari understood what that meant. Scouts were not normal soldiers. They were advanced, trained for survival, sabotage, and infiltration. If the human outpost had sent a scout, it meant only one thing. The real force hadn't arrived yet, and they had just declared war on a species they didn't understand. Varnock sat down slowly. "Find him," he said, "before he finds us." But it was already too late. Darkness fell over the mountain range where the Zarkari squad had disappeared. Search ships flew overhead, scanning every rock, every cave, but they found nothing. Not a body, not a weapon, not even a broken helmet. It was like the squad had never existed. The silence made everyone nervous. Back at the Zarkari command ship, General Varnock's anger had turned to fear. He didn't speak much. He just stared at the reports piling on his desk. Missing units, downed drones, cameras going dark, all in the same area, all near the place where one human had last been seen. The truth became clearer with every hour. The human wasn't running. He was attacking. Varnock called in reinforcements. Dozens of scout teams, armored walkers, and air drones were sent to the surface. "Bring me his head," Varnock growled. Now. They landed across the valley and mountains, forming tight patrols. Heat scanners, motion sensors, and radar towers filled the landscape. They thought they were safe. Then the first tower exploded. It was fast. One sharp boom, and the sensor array vanished in fire. Soldiers rushed to the area, but there was nothing. No footprints, no trace. Minutes later, a patrol vehicle flipped over. No mines, no gunfire, just crushed metal. The Zarkari inside were gone. Panic spread fast. Radios buzzed with static. Drones dropped from the sky without warning. Whole squads vanished without sending a single distress signal. That's when the soldiers began to whisper his name, the Ghost. He was never seen. He left no trail, and every night someone disappeared. The surviving Zarkari were terrified. They stopped sleeping. They shot shadows. They ran from movement. And still, the human kept coming. One night, a soldier named Brecht heard a noise outside the camp perimeter. He crept out with his flashlight, shaking with fear. "Is anyone there?" he called. No answer. He turned back toward the camp. A figure stood behind him. Not tall, not loud. Just a man, calm, still, and wearing a black suit of armor with a visor that glowed red. Brecht tried to scream. No sound came. And then, silence. General Varnock held another emergency meeting. "This is not a normal soldier," he said, voice low. "This is a weapon, a living weapon." An old Zarkari tactician stepped forward. His skin was pale and his eyes wide. "There is an ancient human term for this kind of soldier," he said. "They call them pathfinders. They're sent before the real army, to test enemy strength, to mark targets, to break fear into the hearts of their enemies. And we thought we won," another officer muttered. They realized the terrible truth. They hadn't fought the humans. They had fought just one. And he wasn't done yet. Every attempt to trap him failed. He was always 2 steps ahead. Every time they set a net, he had already slipped through. Every time they chased him, he vanished. But he never stopped attacking. Small things, clever things. Cut power cables, jammed comms, missing rations, overheated reactors. Their base was falling apart, and he hadn't even fired a real weapon yet. That night, the human sent a message. He hijacked every screen in the Zarkari fleet. His face stayed hidden behind his helmet. His voice was quiet. "You celebrated too early." The message ended. No threats, no demands, just a reminder. He was still out there, watching, planning, waiting. And the galaxy hadn't seen the real human army yet.